Unboxing this water cooler from Aliexpress. It's made by Mint Cookie and it was 64 euros, but in addition to the 64 euros there is also customs and also shipping cost, and it is now here. I have it in the house and it's in this box. So the next step is to open the box, obviously, and I might also discuss a little bit why I purchased this actually, compared to just unboxing it, but I think it might make more sense to unbox it first. So first of all, we have a network, not a network, but a power adapter. This seems to be a kind of fairly common barrel plug, which probably also might work on network adapters or on your access point and so on and so forth. Then we have the tubings, so we do have also the tube itself, and the tube itself I already kind of hoped it would have some additional securing mechanisms, because this seems to be just being attached to then the different kinds of things it attaches to, but it does not seem to have kind of a securing mechanism. So I already thought about tube ties, if this is the proper word. There were two sizes of this mat available. The first one would have been 160 multiplied by 70 centimeters. This is the one I actually got, but there would also have been one that was a little bit broader, so basically for a double or king size bed, which would have been 140 centimeters in broadth, or not width, I think it's width. So this is what it looks like. It is, well, just kind of what you would expect. And then we have the tubing connectors, and then we can attach the tubes to it. So there seems to now be some kind of securing mechanism. As we see here, there are these small fins, or whatever you might call them, and then you can attach the tube to this. Now the question is obviously, if I sleep on this and then it is night and I move a lot in my bed, and then does this disconnect? So the idea was to get these hose clamps or clips and to then attach them to here. And also I think I might visit the hardware supply store and then try to see if I can get longer. Oh, it is actually fairly secure. So what seems to be the case is that there is a vacuum that is building up, and that basically allows you to, that makes it very hard to remove this. So this is a kind of an unexpected mechanism here. So now it is this big. I figured, because I sleep on this mat alone, this might be enough for me. I'm now having it basically until the floor, so I'm 182 centimeters tall, and this is basically what it would be. So my head would either not be cooled or my feet would not be cooled. But I mean, there were only these two sizes available from this company, and also other companies had similar sizes. So this is the mat itself, and we already see that there is then probably in between these squares, that here the water probably will flow. So on the other side here the water then might flow, I guess. Or, yeah, well, it seems to be that this is basically sewed together, and then in between the water probably flows. So you're basically having a water bed, but not only a water bed, but a water cooled bed. And then we have the main device, the cooling unit, which is kind of similar sized to a small computer, I would say. Not a small computer in today's standards, but what I still think of as a computer, as kind of this housing. Then in the box there is nothing else. It is a box. Oh, they chilled. So this seems to be, it seems to be the case that this box is actually kind of for another company that probably sells or dropships these things from the same company, and so they kind of reverted the packaging, and the packaging then I got is basically just this one from the outside. Or maybe, yeah, well, it probably is this case. What I also saw is a company called Matress cooler, and I almost bought the Matress cooler from this company that basically sold the exact same device, just at a price 3 times as much, and this would have sold from the US, and then it would have shipped from the US. But what I eventually realized is that on AliExpress, many companies, many Chinese companies, sell the devices themselves, and therefore you don't pay for the surplus, you would pay additionally. So the Matress cooler company probably just gets these devices and then sells them at a margin of 60% or even more, because the company that sells it from China probably also has a margin, and so if they get more devices, they probably have a better price. So this is now the cooling unit itself, and I am glad that I eventually, well, discovered this on Aliexpress. So this is probably the exact same unit Matress cooler also sells, but I got it for 114 euros in total with the shipping. It actually would have cost only 64 euros, but the customs and the shipping cost more, as I already mentioned. So now this seems to be a fairly cheap device. It also seems fairly big, but that's only because it's so close to the camera. So because, well, if I put it like here, it is not that big, but if I put it in front of the camera, it seems gigantuous, at least compared to my head. So now on the device itself, we have these two holes again, which then connect to the tube. I don't know if these are called holes. Then on the top here, there was also an image where this would kind of look other, or not that nice. And there were also a few companies that sold very similar devices, but with a slightly different design. But I think this design is actually kind of the best that I could have gotten. I quickly might show you a few other listings that were also on AliExpress, also of a very similar quality probably. But I just figured this design is kind of the best. I like things to be black because then they don't grab attention. So we are back to the AliExpress site. This whole thing sold from Angel's House Store, but the brand is called Cookie, and in the delivery details it actually again told me it was another brand. I think it was called Now or something like this. Then on the bottom here, what we find is a few other coolers, and I also looked at these other coolers. Now these sell at 76 euros, at 81 euros, and sometimes it's kind of the same device, as you might see. So if we take a look at this here, at the bottom, then first of all this sells for 30 euros, and then this other device that is basically the same unit sells for 81 euros, so it is a little bit, I don't know, maybe sometimes the customs are included and sometimes they are not. And in total, the black unit was kind of the most expensive. The other ones would have been a little bit cheaper because sometimes the shipping cost was included in the price that is also shown here. And then, of course, we have this on the left side, which would have been a little more uglier, but this is actually for an aquarium. So the only two real options would have been this here, and also another unit that was a flatter design, similar maybe to the Chili Pad Cooler. No, the Chili Uler. A company that also makes devices like these, but that apparently has or is going bankrupt. So this is something we will discuss later on, what other options there might be, because this is kind of the most budget option. So now we go back to the device itself, and we will take a look at the device itself and possibly also try it out on my desk here. So on the back here, what we find is that we can take this lid off. And here, I think, goes in the water. So in here then we have some water that is basically showing then here. So if this is filled up, it would show up here. So probably on the bottom here, we have then the water. And on the side here, we have the barrel plug, which we can plug in. In terms of the length of this, it's probably either 1 meter or 1.50 meters, which we might figure out in a few seconds if I manage to untangle this. So I just measured it with a tape measure, and it seems to be 180 centimeters, in case you're wondering if you then need an additional extension cord to actually plug this in. Now this here comes surprisingly with a European cord. What they said actually when I asked that they would give me an adapter, that so basically the power plug would come with an Australian plug, which I think is the same as the UK plug. So basically these same units, but kind of chunkier and rectangular. And this is now also without the additional security thing. That would be the third pin that is common in Europe. But I am glad that this is delivered here. Also because it is a barrel plug, and it probably, of course, now the question is, does it run on a different voltage? And I'm not entirely sure. We might take a look at the back of this device. So it is rated voltage 12 volts DC. So the power adapter probably then also has only 12 volts. The rated current is 1 ampere, so it doesn't take a lot of power, which is fairly nice. Then the product name is water-cooled Matress. The rated power is 8 watts an hour. So basically 8 kilowatts, because 8 watts an hour is 8. No, it's not 8 kilowatts. It's 8 watt hours, which is fairly low. A water heater, for example, has often 1 kilowatt hour, so kilo stands for thousands, so or 1000, and then the kilowatt is 1000 watts per hour, and this here only has 8 watts an hour, so it's fairly low. Maybe it's your phone charging, but I will not make the calculations right now. Okay, adapter rating input, it's either 50 or 60 hertz and 100 to 240 watts. So it should work in the European system as far as I think. So the ones that are actually present in Germany are called Type F, and the voltage is 230 volts and the frequency is 50 hertz. So it should work within these limits because it goes up to 240 volts. So on the top here we have a few different buttons. The first one is the power on button, then we also have a fan speed, so probably we can increase or decrease the fan speed, but it is unclear to which extent. If it is just one button, then probably we would just press up and then it increases and then again decreases if there are only 3 modes. Then fan cycle, I'm not sure, timer, and then we also have negative ion. Okay, what can we do with negative ions? Maybe some kind of grounding, I don't know. I recently read a little bit about grounding and about the potential science behind this, or supposed science behind this. I actually forgot to pause, or the pausing didn't work, but well, let's continue. So now the first step would be to assemble all of the different things. This is here bound together with a cable tie, so if I send this back, I probably am not able to have this just like this again, but also if I send it back, I probably will lose the customs and also the 60, so in total the 60 euros. And this now is ridiculous. It's 1 meter, so this means if you sleep on a mattress and you have the device connected here and the mattress cooler on the other side, then it is basically almost next to your head, or at least next to your torso somewhere. So in terms of the noise, it probably makes a little bit of noise, so it would be probably kind of unwise to have tubes that are only this short. So for this reason, I might visit the hardware supply store in the next days. So this is all the packaging that I probably won't need any longer. So there was also something in there, but it was just my knife. So now the next step would be to read some instructions, but I think there were no instructions in there, if I'm not mistaken. Now we can take a look at the packaging. So it says cooling system. Water-cooled mattress uses evaporative cooling to chill water 7 to 12 degrees Fahrenheit below room temperature, which is fairly high, I would say, compared to something proper like an 8-sleep system. Of course it's fairly low, and also it only cools, it doesn't chill, it doesn't heat up. So there are basically 2 mechanisms. The first one is the cooling, and the second one would be heating up, because the body temperature during sleep goes basically down and it then heats, it goes up again. So if you heat the body externally up, the idea is the body also then wakes up. Product name, we already have this, so there is no additional information on here. So now I think we will put in the water, because that's probably what I'm supposed to do with this. And because I don't have any instructions, I'd already checked the packaging again, I checked everything else again, but there seems to be basically nothing where I can read instructions from. So I searched up an instruction video from the company Matress Cooler that makes the same devices, or sells the same devices, just with Matress Cooler on here. And what also seems to be different from the company Matress Cooler is that they sold a pad which has straps, so you can basically attach it to the mattress, which probably would have been fairly nice, because mine doesn't have one of these straps. So now we take a look at the tubing here, and in the instruction video from Matress Cooler they said to first connect this here to this here, and you only need to connect basically one filter, because the water goes into one of the tubes and then comes back through the other ones. So this is the reason that there are two. Then we connect one of the tubes to the housing here, and then the other one, and then we take the two tubes that are here together. I don't know if I should separate them. They are kind of also, I'm not sure, but maybe I should leave them together, so I will actually put some rubber bands around these. So now as a next step I connected one of it here, but this of course now means that if I have the other one with the same length, then it doesn't really work out this well. Now I would have to separate the tubes in order for this to be connected to here, because otherwise there's basically no option. I could bind them together then again, but I mean there is basically no possibility that I can connect it like this. Also, it is unclear to me what this is still for. Maybe it is to secure the device, so water that is in the device, if I don't have the Matress Cooler pad connected to it. So I think I need to separate these tubes, and otherwise I won't be able to set this up and try it out. Because, well, I mean, if I don't try it at least out before I buy additional ones, then... So now both are connected. I also connected the filter. I don't know what to do with this still. And now I have the tubes, which are about 1 meter, which I now can connect to the mattress. Now, depending on where you actually want to place this device, you can either place this device at the bottom of your feet, basically, because this then is at the bottom, but it probably, so there are these two holes in here, and these two probably mean that you probably might have trouble sleeping on there. So if it is on your head, as it is shown in at least the Matress Cooler videos, then you have the problem that you have these two things standing out, basically, and if you then have your pillow on it, or I don't know, then they are basically on top of this. Or you sleep with your pillow on top of these things here. If it is on the bottom, then it probably makes more sense, and also because your ears are connected to your head, not so much to your feet, it probably might make more sense to have this at the bottom. So now the next step would probably be that I set this actually up, and then I feel this mattress. So in the beginning you need to feel this, and then the mattress pad, or this pad here, fills also with water, and then I think you need to refill it again. So I will try this out and probably put it on the floor now. Now the listing says it holds 2.5 liters. The question is whether this device on its own holds 2.5 liters, or then in total only with the mattress pad it holds 2.5 liters. So now I just fill it in here, and then I will probably put it on the floor. It also said you should slowly fill this in. There is also seemingly kind of again on the side here an additional hole, which I don't really know what it is for. But once you fill this in, it probably does not make the most sense to tip this device over and just have it probably on the ground. I do have my notebook on this desk here and not much else, so I am... Of course it is water and electricity often doesn't like itself. This is now the second glass. The glass holds about 600 milliliters or 650 I think. So I think it was 3 or 4 glasses of these, and now we have the floater, which is visible here somewhat. It's a blue floater, and this is now at the max line, which is basically at the top. So now I will place this device on the floor, and I will continue the video recording just with the built-in microphone from my phone, because otherwise I think it doesn't make too much sense to have it on the desk here, and I do not have another microphone. So the two things that are left from the installation are this here, and also we have this tiny thing here, which is probably to fill one of the tubes basically with this here. So basically a water stopper or whatever it is called. And then we have also the remote. I don't know if it comes with any batteries. No, it does not. It requires 2 times AAA batteries. If it is visible here. No, it is not visible here. Maybe I should change the lighting situation. So 2 times AAA batteries, in case you're wondering which ones these are. These are the smaller ones. Then there are also these bigger ones, which are slightly bigger. Now I put this in, and then ideally the remote would already work. Next step is to connect the whole thing to, not the internet, but only to the power. So I plug this in here. By the way, these are the European normal plugs I was talking about. And fortunately I don't need an adapter, even though the company said I would get an additional adapter delivered. So now we connect this here to the Matress cooler unit, and it connects flawlessly, I would say, and then we finally turn it on. So it already is beginning to show. So now I just turn it on, and you hear the water flowing into the mattress. And I already can feel the water that is flowing into the mattress. Very cool water here. The question I am asking, or one of the questions I am asking myself, is if I have this here and I sleep on here, then on the smaller unit, so there would also be the other one that would be twice the size. But if it is twice the size and the cooler is still the same size, because the cooler is the same size, then this would have meant that the cooling power per mattress half would probably be just half. So this is not what I wanted, so therefore I ordered the smaller one. Even though the bigger one, because I am not that small, would probably also have been useful. So now, as I suspected, in between these threadings here, or these things where the mattress unit here is tight or sewed together, or whatever the correct process is, the water is beginning to flow. So we see it here, we then will also see it here, I guess. I already can kind of begin to feel a slight cooling effect if I put my hand on here. Simply just because it is water, and the water just absorbs heat and then transfers it away. It already is nice. Compare this to this floor here. So I usually sleep on the floor actually, which is maybe kind of weird, but it has been very beneficial to my back. So then we can take a look at the remote. So we have the fan cycle, we have the fan speed. So if the fan cycle is also a button, we just probably turn the fan cycle on. So now it is off currently, and now if I press here, does it already turn on? Oh, it is already on, I just didn't see it. So if we click on here, I hear that it now turns off. So this turns the fan cycle off and on. And then we can probably increase the fan speed or decrease the fan speed by pressing this one here. Okay, now decreased again. Now increasing at max. So we have, I think, 3 different levels. And this is the one that is the maximum, and that is also the default that turns on if you just turn on the fan cycle. But other than that, it probably just turns on the one you used the last. Then what about negative ion? So this is probably a function that would, in theory, produce negative ions, similar to grounding, but I'm not entirely sure what this is supposed to be, so I probably will not talk about it this much. But something else I am beginning to wonder is this here. If I lie on this, then I'm effectively kind of pressing the water away with my body weight. So if I press the water away with my body weight, then probably this one is not able, the pump in here is not able to basically hold the water up. So this means I'm basically, wherever I lie, I'm lying still on kind of the ground. It is only around me, and the water is then basically flowing at a lower rate, that it is then still kind of cooling me. But the hills you see on here are probably then gone whenever I actually touch it, so on the contact area, you could say. Something else that is not entirely optimal, I would say, is that this here is not on the side here. So it probably has a reason, but if I have, for example, my feet in here, then one foot or leg would probably here, the other one here, which is not that ideal. And now I just hit this one. So it actually shows us the different levels. There seem to be 4 different levels of the fan. So level 1 is the highest, and then the 4th one is the slowest. What we also hear is that it is quite loud. So, I mean, do I really want to sleep next to this? This was one of the biggest concerns, and for this reason I already figured that I might maybe get the elongation tubes. But the question obviously then is, does the pump, or is the pump able to pump the water through longer things, through longer tubes like these? What one also could use is, one could just use this as a fan and just put this in front of wherever one is sleeping, and then this basically, in addition to the cooling unit, cools the body off, just with the heat again. Not the heat, but the air. Alright, let's try the timer function. The timer function now does not show anything here. 12, okay, 11. Are these presets? Is this a time? If I then have a time on here, how do I set the time? So probably I need to, it's probably minutes, so it probably will turn off after these minutes. At least that's my guess. Now, some thinking also was that this might act kind of as a white noise machine, because the fan is not that noisy, and it also is not, of course it is kind of loud. You can hear it, and maybe if I put it on the lowest fan speed, let's try these ones, then it is actually not that loud, and then I also don't have to talk that loud. So this might be something I could use also in sleeping, during sleeping. So now the mattress has filled up a little bit at least, and we see that the maximum it showed before, the floater here, is again not on the maximum. So I will refill it with a little bit of water. So as I just opened this to refill it, what I saw is that the one tube seems to put the water back in here, and then it is going through here. So the filtration in the back that we can see here is probably then filtrating the water every time it goes through one cycle. So I refilled it with about 1.5 glasses, so about an additional liter fit in. So this is basically it. We have these 4 different fan speeds, as I already showed you. Both can be accessed via either the remote, which seems to work only kind of in front. So it probably is an infrared remote. We can test this because a normal camera can see infrared, usually. So if I press on here, there should be a red light, but it is not here. But we see also the light here, so it is kind of confusing. It was because I had the flash of my camera on, so now we can see the infrared signal. So now we can turn the fan on and off again. But the fan cycle function seems to also have different levels. So it has D4, D1, D2, and D3. D and D4. The question is, what does this do? Because the fan cycle, the fan speed also already does. It seems to me that these are kind of the same 2 things. So now we have both at maximum, and it is a little bit louder as if I have only one at maximum. So if we turn the fan speed, for example, to level 4, then it is quieter. If we turn the fan cycle also to D4, then it is now super quiet. Is the fan now even running? No, it is not. So what is the fan cycle? So the fan cycle does turn the fan on and off, whereas the other one doesn't do anything if the cycle is turned on and off. But what the additional levels do, I don't know. Now, again, we put it on maximum, and then we also have the timer function here. And the timer function seems to be just in minutes, okay? But just do it for 12 minutes. It seems to not be 12 hours because most people probably don't sleep even 10 hours. And then we have the negative ion charge, which we can also turn on, but it doesn't show an LED, or it does show an LED. And that's it. That's the mattress cooler, I guess. What I also previously saw is that there is this filter, which you can probably open and then take out and rinse it out. Then, for the sake of this video, I will now close this lid, and then I probably test this tonight already. What I also saw is that this here can be adjusted, similar to normal fans, and this means it could be, for example, at your feet. And your hands and your feet are kind of the heat exchangers of your body, because there basically go the arteries and the veins through it, and they meet kind of in between, and therefore heat also can be exchanged. This also means if you put your hand or your hands and your feet into cold water, for example, that your body is cooled basically through most efficiently. Not more efficiently compared to if you put your whole body into water, because then of course there is more energy that goes into the water. But if you just have your hands, for example, or your feet, then it might make sense. I actually looked for an unboxing or even a review of a device like this, the mattress cooler, or a similar device like this, but I just didn't find anything on YouTube. There were a few, but they only talked about the device itself for like 2 minutes and didn't even show the whole thing. What one also could do is, this is what I'm just thinking of, one could get the bigger mattress, and then instead of sleeping in this direction, you could also then sleep basically in this direction. So you could basically use this here and cool your entire upper body, and you would have a lot of space. Your feet probably wouldn't be covered depending on how tall you are. So in my case, 6 inches is, not 6 inches, but 6 feet is probably a little bit too long for this.